What's your must-have gear when traveling to shoot? When you're out in the field, you need to make sure you have all the necessary gear on hand. Today, we're going to go over all the gear that I take when I'm in the field as a smartphone storyteller. I'm currently preparing for an upcoming filmmaking trip. I'm going to be heading to Brazil for about a week to work with an organization called World Renewal. They're celebrating their 30th anniversary in the country and I have some cool things planned, so I'm going to be working with them to tell the story of what's happening in the country. Beyond that, I'm going to be hosting some courses to teach smartphone filmmaking so that they're equipped to continue sharing the stories of the continued work. When traveling to tell stories, you need to make sure you think through every scenario where you might need gear. You can't just run to the store and pick something up, so pre-planning is key. Today I'm going to go through all the gear packing lists that I'm taking on this trip. All the items are going to be linked in the description so you can find any gear you're interested in there. These links might be affiliate links, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. And if you buy through those links, it helps to support the channel. So thanks. Also, full disclosure, I work as a full-time filmmaker, so I'm actually going to have two separate gear lists that I'm packing. I'm going to be capturing footage using my full filmmaking rig, but I'm also going to be capturing quite a bit of content as a smartphone storyteller and using my smartphone. Since this is Smartphone Storytellers, we're going to dive into the smartphone setup that I'm going to be packing, as well as some alternatives that you might be interested in. This is by far the easiest thing to pack, the smartphone. In terms of specifics, I'm going to be packing my iPhone 14 Pro with about 512 gigs of storage. You'll most likely pack your smartphone everywhere you go already, so it's just a matter of following a normal routine. But it's not enough to just have the phone. You need to prepare it for shoot days. First, check your onboard storage. Do you have enough space to film for the day? This is ultimately going to depend on how much your phone is set up to manage its onboard storage. On an iPhone, you can set it to automatically offload apps and photos if you hit a certain threshold of storage used. But no matter how you offload your storage, you need to make sure that you have enough storage for the day. The amount of needed space is going to be different for every situation, but try to think through the required file sizes on your phone. If you're filming using the stock iPhone video app, a minute of video takes up about 150 megabytes if you're shooting at 4K at 24 frames a second, which is my suggestion. Other applications, frame rates, or devices will require different sizes, so do a quick search to confirm how much space you're going to need. Next up, make sure your apps are all up to date. If you film on the stock app, that one's pretty easy, as it updates with your phone's OS. If you happen to use something like Filmic Pro or Cinema P3, you just want to check the App Store to make sure you've got everything up to date. The applications are always adding new features and bug fixes, so you never know when they're going to add something that's going to help you in the field. Finally, make sure you're all charged up before you head out. Shooting video on your phone will rapidly eat into the battery life of your smartphone, so you want to start a shoot day on a full charge. If you're heading out for a longer trip, you want to make sure you have a charger on hand and whatever adapters you're going to need, but you're also going to want to consider our next item. A portable charger is a must if you're doing a full day of shooting. You have a few options for keeping your phone charged in the field. First off is just to have a basic USB portable charger. There's countless options for these, you just want to make sure you have one that's going to hold enough of a charge to top off your phone throughout the day. I usually like to have one that's going to give me about 2 to 3 charges for my phone. This is more than enough for a day of shooting, but that way I have a bit of headroom. If you want to charge while you film, you want to have a longer USB cable to connect your phone so you can just drop the charger into your pocket. My most commonly used charger is the Anker PowerCore 10,000 mAh charger. Small enough to drop in a pocket, but it holds enough juice to power up my phone 2 to 3 times. Now, this is a slightly older model, so it only has older style USB ports. But Anker makes quite a few other models that include USB-C and USB-A, so take a look at their offerings to see which fits your needs the best. Another option if you're using an iPhone is to get a MagSafe charger. These are just like the portable chargers we talked about before, but the advantage is they just snap directly onto the back of your phone and charge it wirelessly. Apple puts out an official charger, but if you're not wanting to spend Apple dollars on a charger, I love the Anker 621 MagSafe charger. It works similarly to the Apple charger, but the only downside being is that it doesn't charge quite as quickly as Apple's. This is due to how Apple licenses the MagSafe chargers and their phones, requiring chargers to be certified in order to unlock the faster charging. I've used this in the field regularly though, and it's kept up with keeping my phone going longer than if I didn't have it connected. Finally, another option is if your hand grip that you're using has an internal battery. I'm going to be talking about some options in this area a little bit later in the video, but these operate similarly to the Anker 621. The ND filter, sunglasses for your camera. You can film without it. In fact, I do quite frequently. But if you want full control over your camera settings, then it's valuable to have. If you're filming on a bright sunny day, your camera is going to act the same way as your eyes do. They're going to be overwhelmed by the brightness. The only difference is while your eyes eventually adjust, the only way that a camera can adjust is by changing the settings to be less than ideal. You're going to have a higher aperture, which means a deeper focus, and you're going to have a shutter speed that isn't double your frame rate, which means that your footage will have a less than pleasing to the eye look. I've watched videos that were filmed without an ND filter before that were fine, but if you want to set your camera to the perfect settings, it's valuable to have. The problem with any ND filter is you're putting an extra layer of glass in front of your lens. No matter what, the glass is going to have an impact on your image. Whether this is a color shift, a slight ghosting in the image, or a softness, any extra glass has potential to negatively impact your image. So while there are cheaper options on the market, this is one area to at least consider some of the higher end options as they do yield much better results. There are a few options for putting an ND filter on a phone. The first is the most simple, a clip-on ND filter. These are by far the most affordable, but they're not perfect. They're not built specifically for the phone models, so they might have some of the issues that I mentioned before. But they're a great option on a budget, and sometimes are much better than not having one at all. I picked up the newer clip-on ND filter, and I've had some good luck with it. The next step up is to look at either a case that can adapt to a higher end ND, or some ND filters that clip onto a case. Previous to my current case, I was using a Moment case that offered an adapter that allowed me to put one of my higher end ND filters on it. The only issue I'd run into with this setup is that it was very easy to knock off the ND filter, so I'd need to be careful when I run around and filmed. That being said, I was able to utilize some high quality ND filters, so those ultimately would give you some of the best results if you can put up with the issues I had. And I will also note, they have actually discontinued the version of the mount I had before and have introduced a new screw-on mount, but I haven't gotten to try that one out. I've recently switched to a Freewell case and have started using some of their variable ND filters designed for the case, and I've been pretty impressed. In terms of glass quality, 1 to 3 stops have little to no color shift, and 4 to 5 has a shift, but it's still quite usable. I picked up the 6 to 9 stop filter to test out and plan to do a full breakdown on the case and filters in the future. These filters lock in and are incredibly solid, allowing you to film without worry that you're going to drop your glass. If there's one topic that I've spent an ad nauseum amount of time on this channel, it's been audio. I'm not going to go into every audio option, but if you want to deep dive into different microphones, then check out my smartphone audio microphone comparison video that's linked below. Needless to say, audio is incredibly important for a successful shoot. I'll watch a video with poor quality visuals, but if the audio is bad, then I'm out. Before heading out on a shoot, you want to make sure your audio gear is charged and ready to go. There is nothing worse than getting to your set and finding out that your mic is dead. Trust me, done it. When picking your audio gear, you want to consider feature sets and quality. If you're filming selfie-style videos and holding the camera at an arm's length, the onboard mic might be enough. If you're filming an interview or a talking headshot where it's going to be a little further away, or in a slightly louder environment, you're going to want a dedicated microphone. In the past, I've run the audio recorder on someone else's iPhone and placed that phone in their front pocket and use that as their recorder. You can also attach headphones with a microphone to that phone so the phone can stay in their pocket while the wire runs up their shirt. Ideally though, you're going to have a dedicated wireless microphone setup running that goes directly into the camera that's filming the video. For this trip, I'm going to be taking the Hollyland Lark M1 Duo as well as the Anchorwork M650. Both are great options for getting clean audio on a smartphone. I love the Hollyland for its simplicity, small footprint, and clean audio. Meanwhile, I love that the Anchorwork M650 allows me to record on the device itself, as well as some of its advanced options for tweaking the sound and noise reduction. So I'm going to be bringing those to be using on my other cameras. A good tripod is well worth the investment. The more weight you're putting on your tripod, the higher quality of a tripod you want to pick up. You can easily spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a high-end tripod, or even a mid-grade tripod. I was recently on set with an O'Connor, which runs about $13,000. It was a work of art, and I can understand why someone would make that investment. Here's the good news for us though. With how I recommend you use a tripod, you don't need the most high-end tripod on the market. There are a few features you want your tripod to have, but ultimately, in smartphone filmmaking, I see the tripod as a tool to hold the camera when you're recording an interview or a talking head segment. The majority of other smartphone filmmaking is just handheld, so the tripod just needs to be able to hold the phone and a little bit of basic support resources. All of that's very light though, so it allows you to look at all the tripods that wouldn't work for higher end cameras. The largest iPhone, an iPhone 14 Plus, weighs less than half a pound, so even if you throw on a microphone, receiver, a case, a lens, ND filter, and a battery pack, you're still under 2 pounds easily. So what are the features you want to look for when finding a tripod for your phone? First, you want it to be able to go relatively tall. Around 70 inches is what I try to find. This allows you to film someone either standing or sitting, while keeping the camera pretty close to eye level. Second, you want it to have a head that you can level independently of the legs. This way you can get the legs roughly set into place, and then fine tune the level of the head quickly. There's a few ways to do this: a ball head, a bowl head, a leveling head. All three accomplish the same thing in just slightly different ways. For a smartphone, any of these are good options since the weight load is so small. I personally use a few different tripods for when I'm traveling, depending on my needs. I've got a Benro Mi Photo tripod that works great. This uses a ball head to level out the camera. It's a bit clumsy when you have to extend all the legs because of all the different points on the legs, but it's somewhat by design, as this is designed to be a travel tripod and fold up really small. One of the things that I love about it is I can drop this into my carry-on luggage and fly with this tripod. I've actually put a Blackmagic Pocket 4K on this with no extra gear, and it held it great. I picked this up on sale for about $59. The only downside is it's a bit on the shorter side, so I've had instances where it's a bit too short to capture footage of someone closer to 6 feet tall. Additionally, I also use a Peak Design travel tripod with my gear. This is the Rolls-Royce of travel tripods. It's light, solid, folds down small, yet is very simple to unfold to its maximum height. Comes in two versions, aluminum or carbon fiber. Literally, the only difference is in the weight. The carbon fiber is a little bit lighter, but also comes at a premium price, almost double the cost. The aluminum runs about $379, while the carbon fiber costs almost $650. Needless to say, unless you're hiking miles upon miles each day, the aluminum is more than enough. This one also doesn't quite go as high as I'd like, but it's a great option. If you're on a tighter budget, there's quite a few options on Amazon that could work great. I used to recommend the Amazon Basics pistol grip tripod that would go up to 72 inches in height, but it's recently been a little more difficult to get. One other option is just a little tripod like this that's just short little legs that allows you to easily put your phone pretty much anywhere you need it to. I have on here a MagSafe connector to mount the phone, but the great thing about this is I can literally just throw this in my bag for the day, and if I just need to put it on a table, put it on a shelf or something, I can get a shot without having to worry about a full-fledged tripod. This one came with my snap grip, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, in the full kit. Additionally, if your tripod doesn't include it, you're going to want to make sure you have a tripod mount for your smartphone. I recommend the Manfrotto Smartphone Clamp Pro version. It runs around $22 on Amazon and allows you to mount your phone in either landscape or portrait. It fits most, if not all, smartphones and locks down to a solid grip while also protecting your phone using little rubber mounts on there. It's a very solid option. So what's the importance of having a grip when filming? The phone's designed to be handheld, so why would you need a grip? Well, if you're filming in portrait mode, you most likely don't need one. The phone's easier to handle in this mode, which is why the phone's designed to be held in this way in the first place. But if you're filming in landscape mode, you want something to help you have a more solid grip on the phone. A grip's also going to help you relocate some of the functions that you use most, making it even easier to jump in and film. Just like so many of these categories, there's tons of options that would work great. So I'm going to go over the two that I use most frequently. First is the budget option, the Ulanzi CG02. The best part of it is that it works no matter what kind of phone you have, iPhone or Android, and it's cheap. You can get it for around $22. And there's a few different companies that offer the same thing rebranded. So if you see the same looking device, but with a different name, it's probably the same. The Ulanzi connects to your phone via a clamp that stretches out to fit your phone in, and then it clamps down tightly once the phone's in there. It includes a Bluetooth controller to start and stop recording, as well as two other buttons, though I'm going to admit I've never used the other buttons as they don't work with an iPhone. It also has a tripod mount on the bottom, so if you wanted to add your tripod plate, you could just use it to mount your phone on the tripod. The device also includes an onboard light, but I would recommend just forgetting it exists because it's going to look terrible. If you're using an iPhone with MagSafe capabilities, you could also take a look at my personal favorite, the ShiftCam Snap Grip. This connects by literally just snapping to your phone via the MagSafe connector. It's a strong grip, and I'm yet to have my phone pop off unless I was pulling it off myself. The reason I love the Snap Grip is it includes a battery inside that's about 3,200 milliamp hours. While this doesn't replace the portable chargers I mentioned earlier, it should give your phone at least half of a full charge in reserves while you're shooting. Additionally, the Snap Grip also has the same type of remote trigger as the Ulanzi, so you can start and stop your records in a similar fashion to a more professional camera. Finally, lighting. When I'm in the field, I try to overwhelmingly work with available light, meaning the sun. But sometimes it's just not available or it isn't exactly what I'm going to need. That's why I prepare with some supplemental lighting. When I head out for one of my bigger film gigs, I've got a truck full of lighting and stands. But when I'm traveling and it's a bit harder to take a full grip truck that just doesn't fly well. Therefore, I need to think through the minimal gear that will get the job done. The lighting I bring on a trip is like this for only instances where I'm filming in an interview or a talking head, as I use all natural lighting when I'm capturing B-roll. For this trip, there's 3 tools for lighting that I'm going to be bringing. First is the Amaran 60D. This little light is amazing for its versatility. I'm gonna admit, if I were buying it again today, I'd get the 60X as it's bicolor and gives a little bit more options with using it in the field. Seeing as the majority of filming I do is daylight colored though, the 60D is perfect. It's small, but it's a strong little light. You won't be lighting a full set with this thing, but it's perfect for giving a little bit of a kick of light to your talent. One of the best parts about it is that you can just throw it into your carry-on bag and power it via a traditional wall outlet, a V-mount battery, or some Sony batteries, and have a light no matter where you're at, whether you're in the field or near some electricity. For this trip, I'm also taking the Light Dome Mini SE. This diffuses the light so you can point it directly at your talent and put it on a nice soft light. And the great thing is it folds down nice and small. Finally, I'm going to be bringing a light reflector to have the ability to bounce light. This is literally just a round reflector that folds up and fits into a smaller case. When it's unfolded, you have a few options depending on what fabric you have on it. There's a black side to absorb light, white side to bounce light, a gold foil to bounce with a golden hue, or a silver side to bounce a little bit stronger for light. Each of these allow you to bounce your light regardless if it's the sun or some other light in order to better illuminate your scene. The great thing is you can get these very cheap. You can get a full kit for as little as 27 bucks. In fact, I couldn't find my old one and I ordered this just last night. I'm also gonna have a small light stand to hold these up. It's an older stand left over from a low lighting kit I had closer to my college days, but it does the job with a smaller light. It folds up nice and small, and it's just strong enough to hold the 60D with a light dome. I wouldn't trust it to hold much more than that though. The great thing is that I can use this stand to hold any of the lighting items I'm bringing though, so I have a few different options. So that's the main gear I'm packing for the smartphone filmmaking while on this trip, or at least all the different categories. There's a couple alternatives that I presented to you guys in case you didn't want to go with the higher end options. Do I need all this gear for this trip? No, I honestly could get by with only my phone. I've done it before. It just means that I would have more limitations that I need to work around. That being said, these are pieces of gear that allow me to use my smartphone to capture high quality video while giving me the creative freedom to tell the story in the way that I see fit. Now make sure you like and subscribe to follow along as I deliver some content from my time in the field. It's going to be a great trip. And remember, ultimately, in spite of all this, it's not about the gear. It's about the story.